A millionaire sees his ex with a baby at the airport. Days later, she searches for him through tears. Hey there, incredible viewers. Get ready for a story that will send shivers down your spine, fill your heart with emotion, and make you question everything you thought you knew about family and betrayal. This is one you absolutely cannot miss. Smash that like button if you're ready for a thrilling ride, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another unbelievable true story. And as always, tell us in the comments what you would do in this situation. It couldn't be. Nathan Reynolds froze. Ahead of him, just a few meters away in the boarding area, stood Sophia Chen, his ex, the woman who vanished from his life without explanation 3 years ago. But she wasn't alone. She held a small child in her arms, wrapped in a blue blanket with tiny elephants. His breath hitched. It wasn't possible. He'd recognize her anywhere, even with slightly longer hair and a sharper face. Her expression was tense, as if she were on guard, trying to pass unnoticed. He took a step toward her. Sophia looked up and their eyes met. For an instant, everything seemed to stop. Nathan saw fear in her face, but before he could react, she looked away and quickened her pace. "Sophia!" He tried to call out, but the airport noise drowned his voice. He pushed forward, dodging passengers with luggage, ignoring the blare of announcements. He couldn't lose her again. When he reached the spot where he last saw her, she was gone. A knot formed in his throat. It couldn't be just a coincidence. The child. That child had something unsettling about him. Nathan stood still, trying to calm his racing pulse. His eyes hadn't deceived him. The child had his very own eyes. "Another one?" asked Marcus, his business partner and best friend, tilting his head. Nathan took a gulp of his whiskey and nodded. They were in his Malibu penthouse, the city lights shimmering outside the windows. "I saw her, Marcus. There at the airport." Marcus set his glass down. "Are you sure? You think I wouldn't recognize her?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. It was her, and she was carrying a child. A child. A child? Nathan closed his eyes. "He had my eyes, Marcus." The silence became heavy. "Are you saying that?" "I don't know," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "But I can't get it out of my head." "Did you try to talk to her?" "I tried. She disappeared as always." Marcus sighed and rubbed his chin. "Look, buddy. If you think that child might be yours, you have to find out. You can't just sit around waiting for destiny to hand you the answer." Nathan clenched his jaw. "I don't know where to find her." Marcus watched him for a moment and then smiled ironically. "Don't mess with me. You're Nathan Reynolds. If anyone can find a person, it's you." That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He sat in his study, staring at his laptop screen, but not reading the pending emails. Sophia. He hadn't seen her in 3 years. 3 years without a single damn explanation. He remembered the day she disappeared. There had been no prior arguments, no signs that anything was wrong, just a brief text message. "I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore." He had tried to find her at first, but there was no trace, as if she had been swallowed by the earth. Now, out of nowhere, she reappeared with a child who had his same gaze. He lit a cigarette, something he only did when his mind was on the verge of collapse. He couldn't leave it like this. He was going to find her. And this time he wouldn't let her escape without answers. "You don't look good, Nathan." Marcus crossed his arms as he observed him. They were in the offices of Reynolds Capital, the investment fund they had built together over the last decade. Nathan had spent days with a distant look and a furrowed brow, which for anyone who knew him meant he was on the verge of exploding. "I haven't slept well." "Have you found anything?" Nathan grabbed his cell phone and impatiently swiped the screen. "I called some contacts, but I don't have anything yet." "Nobody knows about her." "So why don't you try looking for her yourself?" "Because I don't know where to start." Marcus scoffed. "Brother, stop messing with your head and do what you do with any other investment. Look for information. Didn't you have acquaintances in Portland? You said she was from there, right?" Nathan remained silent. Maybe someone has seen her. A friend, an old contact. What do you have to lose by trying? Nathan sighed. Nothing, exactly. So get your butt in gear and start looking. That afternoon, Nathan drove to Portland. As he drove, his mind raced uncontrollably. The child. Since he saw him, the image had been stuck like a splinter in his skin. He couldn't stop thinking about his eyes. His mother always said that the Reynolds had an unmistakable gaze, that intense blue that was rarely seen in Oregon. If Sophia had had a child, why did she never tell him anything? If he was his, why did she hide something like that from him? He gripped the steering wheel tightly. The idea that she could have hidden something so important filled him with rage. But there was also fear. Fear of discovering that he had lost 3 years of his son's life. The search in Portland was more difficult than he imagined. He asked in cafes, bookstores, and even universities. But no one seemed to know her until he arrived at a small diner near the city center. Sophia Chen? He asked the waitress, showing her an old photo on his phone. The woman frowned as if trying to remember. I think I've seen her. She comes sometimes with her child. Nathan's heart raced. Do you know where she lives? No, but she usually comes in the afternoons. Nathan ordered a coffee and waited. The clock struck 6 when Sophia entered the diner. Nathan saw her before she noticed him. She wore a gray coat, the same one she had on at the airport. She walked quickly as if she were used to surveying her surroundings. And there he was, the child, Leo. She held his hand, and Nathan's blood ran cold. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. He stood up just as Sophia looked up and saw him. Her eyes widened in shock. What are you doing here? She whispered. I could ask you the same thing. The tension was unbearable. Sophia straightened as if trying to block her reaction. It's not the time. You've been hiding from me for 3 years. I think any time is good. She pressed her lips together. I have nothing to say to you. Nathan let out a bitter laugh. Really? He looked at the child. Nothing to say to me? Sophia swallowed hard and looked around nervously. Don't do this here. Nathan leaned towards her, his voice low and tense. Is that child mine? Sophia felt the world crashing down on her. She felt her throat constrict. The diner seemed to have fallen silent. The weight of Nathan's question was unbearable. And although her instinct screamed at her to run, she knew that this time she couldn't escape. Sophia. His voice was low, contained but dangerous. Answer me. She swallowed hard and looked at Leo, who was playing with a plastic spoon on the table. Not here, she whispered. Nathan let out a bitter laugh. Then where? Because it seems that if I don't accidentally find you, you were never going to tell me. Sophia felt the burning in her eyes, but she forced herself to stand firm. My place. Nathan watched her, doubting. It's not a trap, she said wearily. He nodded wearily. Let's go. Sophia's apartment was small, 2 sparsely furnished rooms. Nathan looked around without saying anything, but his expressions said it all. She lived like this with my son. Leo fell asleep on the couch as soon as they arrived. Nathan stared at him. Is he mine? He asked again, bluntly. Sophia felt her stomach clench. Yes. The word hung in the air. Nathan let out a sigh as if he had been punched in the chest. He ran his hands over his face and then walked to the window, turning his back. When did you know? From the beginning. And you never thought to tell me. I couldn't. Nathan turned sharply. You couldn't? Why? Sophia closed her eyes for a second before speaking. Your mother forced me to leave. Nathan's face hardened. What? When I found out I was pregnant, I tried to tell you, but Eleanor got to me first. She told me you were no longer interested in me, that you were with another woman. Nathan's eyes widened with fury. That's a lie. I know. But at the time I didn't know, and she offered me money to disappear so I wouldn't cause you problems. Did you accept? No. Sophia lifted her chin. I left because she made me doubt, because I felt displaced before I could even talk to you. Nathan felt his blood boil. I can't believe my mother would do that. Sophia lowered her gaze. I didn't expect you to. The silence between them was thick. I need a moment, he said, moving towards the door. Nathan. He stopped, but didn't turn around. I'm not leaving, he said firmly. Leo is my son. I'm not disappearing. And he walked out, leaving Sophia with a lump in her throat. Nathan walked aimlessly through the streets of Portland, his mind reeling uncontrollably. His mother, Eleanor Reynolds, had always been a calculating woman, but he never thought she would go so far, manipulating Sophia, making her believe he had forgotten her, and worst of all, hiding his own son from him. He leaned against a wall and closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. Leo. Now everything made sense. From the moment he saw the child, he knew there was something more, something that couldn't just be a coincidence. Now he had certainty. He was his son. 3 years. 3 damned years that had been stolen from his life. He felt a fierce rage, a need to confront his mother at that very instant. But he knew he first had to resolve something more important. He picked up his phone and dialed. Marcus. Now what have you done? I have a son. There was a long silence. Tell me it's not a joke. It's not. His name is Leo. Sophia hid him from me, but not of her own accord. It was my mother. Marcus let out an expletive. Damn it, Nathan. What are you going to do? Nathan looked at the dark sky over Portland. I'm going to meet my son. When he returned to Sophia's apartment, she was still sitting on the couch, hands clasped. I thought you wouldn't come back, she said, without looking at him. I'm not that kind of person. She gave a dry laugh. I didn't know what kind of person you were when I left. He clenched his jaw. That doesn't matter anymore. What matters is Leo. Sophia nodded slowly. He's asleep. Nathan looked at the room where his son was resting. His son. He still couldn't believe it. I want to see him. She hesitated for a moment, but finally stood up and carefully opened the door. The room was small, dimly lit by a nightlight. Leo slept with a relaxed face, hugging a worn, stuffed animal. Nathan slowly approached. He knelt by the bed and looked closely at him. Every feature, every small gesture was his. He felt a lump in his throat. 3 years. 3 years of not seeing him grow, of not hearing his first word, of not knowing anything about him, and that wasn't going to continue. He turned to Sophia, his voice barely a whisper. I'm not going to lose any more time with him. She looked at him with something that looked like sadness in her eyes. I know. Nathan stood there watching his son sleep. Nothing in the world would separate him from him again. I want to be in his life. Sophia carefully closed the door to Leo's room and stood with her back to Nathan. His voice still echoed in her head. He didn't say it as a plea or as a negotiation. He said it with the certainty of a man who had made an irrevocable decision. She took a deep breath before turning. I don't know how to do this. Nathan looked at her sternly. Neither do I, but we're going to find a way. The silence between them was long, awkward. You can't just show up and make decisions, Sophia finally said. It's not a decision, it's a right. He's my son. Sophia clenched her fists. And what do you want to do? Move in here, burst into his life and change everything? I don't want to hurt him, he replied, controlling his anger. But I can't act as if nothing happened. She ran a hand over her face. I'm not ready for this, Nathan. Well, you better get ready, he blurted out. Because I'm not disappearing. Sophia fell silent, looking at him with a mixture of fear and resignation. She knew he meant it. Nathan stayed in Portland. He rented a small but comfortable apartment in the city center. He didn't want to pressure Sophia or Leo, but he wasn't going to leave. The first few days were difficult. Sophia set strict boundaries. She let him see Leo, but always with her present. No impromptu visits, no sudden changes. Nathan accepted the rules, at least for now. He knew he had to earn her trust. More importantly, he had to earn his son's trust. "Who are you?" Leo asked, looking at him curiously. It was the first time they were alone, even if only for a few minutes while Sophia made coffee in the kitchen. Nathan smiled nervously. "I'm Nathan. Are you Mom's friend?" Nathan swallowed hard. "Something like that." Leo frowned, thoughtful. "You talk like me." Nathan chuckled. "How so?" "Fast and serious," the child said, shrugging. Nathan felt a strange warmth in his chest. Maybe because we're alike. Leo stared at him as if trying to find something in his face. "Are you going to come often?" "If your mom lets me, yes." The child studied him a little more and then nodded, naturally. "Okay." Nathan smiled. He knew he still had a long way to go, but at least he had taken the first step. The following days were strange. Nathan spent more time with Leo, naturally gaining his trust. Despite the years of distance, the child seemed to accept him with ease. But not everything was so simple. Every time Nathan held him, every time Leo sought him out with excitement, Sophia felt a mix of relief and fear. Relief because her son deserved to have a father. Fear because she didn't know how much longer she could keep the chaos this brought into her life under control. And then one afternoon, chaos found her first. Sophia was at the market when she felt a chill. She knew that feeling, that pressure in her chest, that certainty that something was wrong. She turned slowly, and there she was, Eleanor Reynolds. The woman was impeccable as always, her hair perfectly styled and her elegant posture, even though the market was not the kind of place where one would expect to find her. Sophia felt her blood run cold. "I can't believe you're here," Eleanor said, her voice calm but sharp as a knife. Sophia clenched her fists. "I'm not doing this." She turned to leave, but Eleanor stopped her with a subtle movement, barely a brush on her arm. "Not so fast," she whispered. "You haven't forgotten what we talked about 3 years ago, have you?" Sophia felt nauseous. "You lied to me. You told me Nathan had another life, that he didn't care." Eleanor smiled without humor. "And wasn't it easier that way?" "For everyone. Not for us." Eleanor's eyes hardened. "Don't make this more difficult, Sophia." "Difficult for whom?" "For you?" "For Leo," Eleanor said softly. "Don't think Nathan will be able to handle this. His life isn't made for a child. Do you really want your son to go through everything it means to be a Reynolds?" Sophia felt a lump in her throat. "I don't care what you think. You should, because if you continue with this, he'll take him from you." Fear hit her like a punch. "He wouldn't." "Are you sure?" "Because I am." Sophia felt her heart race. Eleanor looked at her calmly, as if she already knew she had won. "I'm going to give you one last chance, Sophia, to do the right thing." Sophia felt the tremor in her hands, but she didn't let it show. "I'm not leaving," Eleanor sighed. "Then prepare to lose." And without another word, she walked away. Sophia stood there, feeling the ground sink beneath her feet, because she knew Eleanor Reynolds didn't make empty threats. Nathan received the call when he least expected it. He was in his apartment reviewing some reports when his phone rang. He didn't recognize the number, but he answered immediately. "Mr. Reynolds." The voice on the other end of the line sounded formal, but with a hint of urgency. "Yes. Who is this?" "I'm your mother's lawyer." Nathan felt his blood boil. What the hell does she want now? There was a brief silence before the lawyer continued. "I just wanted to inform you that Mrs. Eleanor Reynolds has initiated legal proceedings to obtain custody of your son." The air seemed to leave his lungs. "What did you say?" "Mrs. Reynolds has argued that you and the child's mother are not fit to raise him. She has requested an evaluation to determine if Leo would be better off in her care. Nathan's heart pounded with fury. This is insane. I know, sir, the lawyer said in a neutral tone, but the petition is already in progress. Nathan was speechless. He couldn't believe it. He knew his mother wouldn't give up easily, but he never thought she'd go this far. And the worst part was that now he had to tell Sophia. When he arrived at the apartment, Sophia opened the door with a frown. "What's wrong?" she asked instantly. Nathan didn't waste time. "We have a problem." Sophia felt a chill. What happened? "My mother filed a lawsuit to take Leo." The world stopped. "No, she can't do that," Sophia whispered, feeling breathless. "Yes, she can, and she's doing it." Sophia leaned against the wall. "No, this can't be happening." Nathan took her by the shoulders, forcing her to look at him. "I'm going to stop her. I'm not going to let her take our son." But Sophia barely heard him. Her worst fear had come true. Eleanor had carried out her threat. And now, if they didn't do something, they could lose everything. The next few days were chaos. Nathan contacted his trusted lawyers and prepared his defense. Sophia met with specialists to prove that Leo was fine with her, but anxiety kept her from sleeping. Every day she expected to receive a notification, a legal blow that would put them on the ropes. And when it came, it wasn't what she expected. A letter delivered to her door. "You have one last chance to do the right thing. Don't make this more difficult for everyone. See you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eleanor." Nathan called her that same afternoon. "Mother," Eleanor answered calmly. "Nathan," she said, "what a surprise. We'll skip the formalities. I know you talked to Sophia." Eleanor didn't say anything for a moment. Then her tone changed. "I did it because I'm worried." Nathan clenched his jaw. "Don't give me that. You did it because you hate not being in control. I'm thinking about your future." "No," he interrupted her. "You're thinking about yours." There was a long silence. "That child doesn't fit into your life, Nathan." Nathan felt something break inside him. "Are you really saying that?" "I'm not saying you don't want him. I'm saying he's not part of what you've built." Nathan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Listen to me closely, Mom. I'm going to make this clear so there are no misunderstandings. Leo is my son, and you will not interfere in his life or mine again." Eleanor sighed. "Don't be dramatic." "I'm not. I'm setting boundaries. That's what you think. But in the end, Nathan, you always come back to me." "Not this time." Eleanor remained silent. And for the first time in his life, Nathan felt she didn't have the upper hand. "If you take this to court, I'll make it public." Eleanor smiled, but there was a shadow in her gaze. "And you think that scares me?" "It doesn't scare you, but it makes you uncomfortable. And you hate being uncomfortable, don't you?" Nathan was right. Eleanor Reynolds built her reputation on the image of an unimpeachable woman. A scandal of this magnitude would bring the press down on her. "I have proof of everything," Nathan continued, "of how you interfered in my private life, of how you manipulated Sophia to leave. And if you decide to go through with this, I swear every damn newspaper and every news outlet in this country will know." Eleanor narrowed her eyes. "That will affect you too. I'd rather that than you touch my son." The silence was heavy. Eleanor slowly stood up from wherever she was. "I'll think about it." Nathan hung up before she could respond. For the first time, he felt he had struck the first blow. But he knew Eleanor Reynolds wouldn't stand idly by. The next few days were hell. Every hour, Sophia expected to receive notification of the lawsuit. Every call she received made her heart jump. But days passed, and nothing came. Eleanor made no move. Until out of nowhere, Nathan received a message. "Enjoy your victory. But remember, Nathan, there's always more than one way to win." The air felt lighter in the following days. After weeks of tension, Eleanor had retreated. There were no more letters, no more threats, no more attempts at manipulation. But Sophia was not completely at ease. "She can't give up that easily," she said one night while making coffee in the kitchen. Nathan, sitting at the table, watched her calmly. "It's not surrender, it's strategy." Nathan noticed it, and for the first time in a long time, he took her hand without her pulling away. "Sophia." She looked at him and saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen before, something that made her feel safe. "I'm not going to let anything happen to you or to Leo." Sophia felt a lump in her throat. "I don't want this to just be a war against your mother, Nathan." "It's not." There was a long silence. Nathan lightly squeezed her hand. "You said you didn't know how to trust me again." Sophia swallowed hard. "Yes." "And now?" She looked down for a moment. "Now I'm not sure." Nathan smiled, but not mockingly, but with patience. "That's progress." She gave a dry laugh. "Maybe." Nathan watched her in silence before letting go of her hand. "I'll wait." Sophia looked at him in surprise. "Wait for what?" "For you to be sure." And before she could reply, he walked away with a calm smile, leaving Sophia with a strange feeling in her chest. Because for the first time, she also wanted to wait. Because for the first time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, they could have a future together. 1 year later, Sophia stopped at the park entrance and watched the scene in front of her. Leo ran across the grass, laughing out loud as Nathan chased him. "I'm going to get you!" Nathan shouted with that playful voice he only used with his son. Leo shrieked with excitement and sped up, but his father easily caught him and lifted him into the air. "No!" "Yes." The two laughed as if the world was only theirs. Sophia felt a pang in her chest, of happiness, of relief, of something she didn't dare name. Because after everything they had been through, after so many doubts and fears, they were here. Nathan noticed her watching and gave her a smile. One that didn't demand answers, one that simply said, "I'm here." Sophia walked over and sat on their usual bench. Leo ran to her and hugged her legs. "Mommy, Daddy runs really fast." Sophia ruffled his hair. "That's because he has long legs." Nathan collapsed beside her, breathing heavily. "I'm too old for this." Sophia chuckled. "You're being dramatic." "You haven't seen me when my back hurts yet." She shook her head and looked at Leo, who was already playing with the dirt. "He's happy." Nathan looked at her softly. "We are too." Sophia felt the warmth in her chest. A year ago, she would never have imagined this moment. Not with Nathan, not with the family they had rebuilt. But here they were, not with a perfect ending, not with a guaranteed forever, but with something much more real, with the promise to keep trying. "What an incredible journey," she whispered, taking Nathan's hand. Did you ever expect Nathan to defy his mother like that? What do you think Sophia's biggest fear was? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more captivating narratives. Your support helps us bring these powerful tales to life.